You've probably met someone who just thinks differently. They're not necessarily the loudest in the room, they don't always have the best grades, but when they speak, people listen. When they solve problems, they see angles nobody else considered. What separates them isn't raw intelligence they were born with. It's a set of daily habits that compound over time. Habits that quietly rewire the brain, sharpen perception, and deepen the way they process the world. Today, we're breaking down the 5 habits shared by people with genuinely high IQ, and more importantly, how you can build them yourself. Welcome back. If you're new here, I talk about psychology, performance, and the science of becoming sharper. Let's get into it. Habit 1. They embrace intellectual discomfort. Here's the first thing that separates high IQ thinkers from the average person, and it's uncomfortable to hear. They actively seek out ideas that challenge them. Most people gravitate toward content that confirms what they already believe. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, and it's one of the most powerful forces limiting human thinking. High-intelligence individuals do the opposite. They deliberately read books from authors they disagree with. They invite counterarguments. They follow thinkers from completely different disciplines. Why? Because mental friction is what builds cognitive strength. It's the intellectual equivalent of lifting weights. Easy content, clickbait articles, echo chambers, passive scrolling, keeps your mind soft. There's a concept in neuroscience called desirable difficulty. When learning feels slightly hard, when you have to wrestle with an idea, look something up, sit with confusion, your brain encodes information more deeply. You retain it better. You connect it to more things. Think about the last time you genuinely struggled to understand something and then finally got it. That click, that's your brain growing. High IQ people don't run from that feeling. They chase it. Practical takeaway? Once a week, read or watch something that challenges your current worldview. Not to change your mind, just to stress test it. The ones that survive scrutiny become convictions. The ones that don't, you're better off without them. Habit 2. They ask better questions. Here's something most people get completely backwards about intelligence. They think smart people have better answers. Actually, smart people have better questions. Albert Einstein, who spent most of his life wrestling with the deepest questions in physics, once said that if he had an hour to solve a problem and his life depended on it, he'd spend the first 55 minutes defining the right question. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your thinking. Most of us were trained in school to find the right answer fast, but high IQ individuals develop a habit of slowing down at the question stage. They ask, what's actually being asked here? What assumption is baked into this problem? What would need to be true for the opposite to be correct? That last one is particularly powerful. It's called steel manning. Instead of attacking the weakest version of an argument, you construct the strongest version and then see if yours holds up. There's also the habit of asking naive questions without embarrassment. Richard Feynman, Nobel Prize-winning physicist, was famous for walking into a room full of experts and asking the most basic, obvious question, and more often than not, that question cut right to the core of a problem everyone else had overcomplicated. High IQ people aren't afraid to say, wait, why does this work the way it does? Does anyone actually know? Practical takeaway? Before you try to solve any problem today, personal, professional, or creative, spend 5 minutes writing down questions about it. Don't answer yet, just question. You'll be surprised how often the problem reframes itself entirely. Habit 3. They protect deep work time. We live in the age of distraction, and distraction isn't just annoying, it's cognitively devastating. Computer scientist and author Cal Newport has written extensively about deep work, the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. And here's the brutal truth he lays out. This ability is becoming rare, and simultaneously, it's becoming incredibly valuable. High IQ individuals across history, whether Darwin writing his theory of evolution in long solitary walks or Newton in isolation during the plague, share one trait. They protect sustained, uninterrupted thinking time like it's sacred. Here's why this matters neurologically. When you sit down for deep focus, your brain enters a state where it can form new long-range connections between ideas. But this takes time to ramp up, usually 15 to 20 minutes before you hit your cognitive stride. Every notification, every tab switch, every quick check of your phone resets that clock back to zero. Research from the University of California, Irvine, found that after an interruption, it takes an average of 23 minutes to return to the original task with full focus. Think about what your typical day looks like. How much true deep focus do you actually get? High intelligent people treat their attention as their most finite, precious resource, because it is. Practical takeaway? Block 90 minutes of your day, ideally in the morning, for one single deep task. No phone, no tabs, no music with lyrics. Use that window to work on whatever matters most. Even 3 sessions of this a week will compound dramatically over months. Habit 4. They connect across disciplines. This habit might be the most underrated one on this list. High IQ thinkers are almost always voracious, eclectic learners and learners. They don't just go deep in one lane. They pull from biology, philosophy, history, mathematics, literature, and everything in between. And here's why that matters neurologically. The most powerful insights almost always live at the intersection of disciplines. Charlie Munger, the legendary investor and partner of Warren Buffett, built his entire decision-making framework around what he called mental models from multiple fields. He argued that relying on just one discipline makes you intellectually fragile. He used the analogy, if all you have is a hammer, every problem starts to look like a nail. When Darwin developed the theory of evolution, he wasn't just drawing from biology. He was heavily influenced by economist Thomas Malthus's work on population pressure and competition for resources. A cross-disciplinary insight led to one of the greatest scientific breakthroughs in human history. When Steve Jobs designed Apple products, he was drawing from his experience studying calligraphy at Reed College, which directly influenced the beautiful typography of the Mac. Art plus technology equals revolution. High IQ people are always asking, what does this field know that mine doesn't? What can I borrow? This is why wide reading is so powerful. You're not just accumulating facts, you're building a lattice of concepts that can connect in unexpected, generative ways. Your brain starts to see patterns that specialists within a single field simply cannot. Pick one field completely outside your expertise and spend 1 month doing a light survey of it. Read one intro book, watch a few lectures, follow one expert. You're not trying to become an expert, you're collecting lenses. Habit 5. They reflect systematically. The final habit is the one that ties all the others together, and it's the one most people skip entirely because it feels unproductive. High intelligent people reflect systematically, regularly. Not vague daydreaming, structured, intentional reflection, usually through journaling, review rituals, or structured thinking time. Here's what reflection actually does to your cognition. When you have an experience, your brain records it, but somewhat loosely. When you revisit that experience and write about it or think through it deliberately, your brain encodes it more deeply. You extract lessons, you update beliefs, you notice patterns you missed in the moment. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, kept a private journal for years, not for publication, just to think clearly. Those journals became meditations, one of the most powerful works of philosophy ever written. But more importantly, they kept one of the most powerful men in the world clear-headed, self-aware, and grounded. Benjamin Franklin reviewed his 13 personal virtues every single day, rating himself on each one. Warren Buffett writes letters to himself. Jeff Bezos famously writes his thinking down in long memos before any major decision. There's a pattern here that isn't coincidental. Writing forces clarity.
You cannot write vaguely about something you understand clearly. The act of putting thoughts into words exposes fuzzy thinking, the gaps, the contradictions, the assumptions you didn't know you were making. And over time, a journal becomes a database of your own mind. You can track how your thinking evolves, spot recurring mistakes, return to old ideas with fresh eyes. Practical takeaway? Start with just 10 minutes at the end of each day. Write 3 things. What happened today that was significant? What did I learn? What would I do differently? That's it. Do it for 30 days and watch how differently you start moving through the world. Let's bring it all together. The 5 habits of high IQ people. Embrace intellectual discomfort, seek out ideas that challenge you, ask better questions, slow down before jumping to answers, protect deep work time, guard your focus like your most valuable asset, connect across disciplines, build a wide lattice of mental models.